Previously on Flowbass.
Let's see if we can reach these little twigs. Oh yeah, we reached them. Oh, no, it's a smallie. Awesome. They're stacked on this tree. Sometimes, fishing can be a pain in the ass. You wake up hours before the crack of dawn, load everything up, leave the house at 2:45 a.m., drive 2.5 hours out into the remote wilderness to find a pristine, untouched lake that nobody goes to, only to find it blowing 30 miles an hour. But wait a minute, before we go any further, let's take a step back. I realize that sounds bitter. Let's take a second, cool off, and see what the weather does. Wow, it was really windy in the morning. About 30-mile-an-hour gusts, and now it has calmed down to almost still conditions. Oh, hello. Well, I guess sometimes what they say is true. Good things come to those who wait. Now, I had set off this morning with the intentions to film a video with a specific type of lure. I think it's a really unique lure. You don't see anyone throwing it, and I was excited to get out here and catch some bass on top water on this thing. But the bass had other plans. I know you've heard a million people say you have to throw what the bass want to eat, and, well, I was a little stubborn this morning. I was so determined to film a video with this lure that I ended up spending 3 hours in the morning throwing this thing with 0 bites. Well, actually not quite 0 bites. First fish of the day. Sounds like I have a real malfunction. It's a pike? Oh, come on. Come on. Oh boy. Don't even want to handle this thing. There we go. A pike. Not exactly the targeted species. All right. What is it? It's another stinking pike. I wonder if it's the same one. Might be. I've heard they do that. Well, at least that's something. Not giving up. Let's keep fishing. I was feeling pretty defeated, so I had to take a break, eat breakfast, clear my mind, and figure out what the next steps were to turn this crappy day into something good. After eating breakfast and setting back out in the kayak, the wind was definitely starting to pick up, and two things were occurring to me about where these bass could potentially be. One, tucked up underneath the pads, or two, down as deep as they could possibly be. And if you've seen any flow bass videos, you know it's top water all day or die, so we're going with the frog. And wouldn't you know it, the bass just happened to be on that good old summertime frog pattern bite. There we go. All right. First largemouth of the day. It took a little while to find these guys. Oh my gosh. Just a small one, but I've been searching for them for quite a while today. Quite a while. My name's Eric, by the way. If you're new to the channel, this is the Up North series. I'm out here in a very remote lake. It's just in the middle of nowhere in the woods, and it's known to have some big bass. That's why I came out here this morning. I was throwing top water like crazy for the first 2 hours. You know, the wind was howling, and then as soon as the sun started to crest the horizon, that's when the wind calmed down. Made my way out into the lake, and they just weren't having the top water. So I was getting real exhausted. I was switching out a couple different lures. So finally I had to go back to the truck, just sit, process everything, kind of recoup. And I remembered that this whole time I was out here, the bluegill were popping into pads. So why not go where the bluegill are? So of course I had to tie on a frog, and within the first 10 casts, we got one. It's a pretty classic summertime bite. So I guess that kind of makes sense, doesn't it? Anyway, thanks for coming along with me. Let's get you back onto the hat cam. We're gonna work these pads. We'll work our way back into this little cove back here a little bit. See if we can find some bigger fish. Other than that, grateful for you guys to come along. It's a gorgeous day outside, so let's go get them. I'm really gonna have to service this thing. It has gotten beat up from all the snakeheads that I've been catching on it at least lately, and missing. Don't forget about the misses. Another one in almost the same spot, guys. And that was the very next cast. All right. Not the size that this lake is known for, but still a really healthy, quality fish. I mean, look how gorgeous this is. This fish doesn't have any parasites on it whatsoever. This is a clean northern bass. All right. Nice one. Safe to say, I think they were in the pads this whole time. That was cool. He gave it just the tiniest little smooch. Pretty cool. So far, nothing of size yet, but the type of fishing, this style of fishing is just so much fun. So much fun. Sometimes they miss it. It's real visual. You see them kind of try and eat the frog. They miss. You give it a couple more twitches to entice them to eat again so they can find it. It's awesome. So awesome. It's okay that that's I'm catching small fish. I do want to get a big one though. That'll just make this day absolutely perfect. Like I said, it's absolutely gorgeous outside. You can't ask for a better day to be outside in general. Point right here is very well protected from the wind. There's got to be one back here. Yep, there is. Get back in there. See if I can get him to find it again. He's right under it. That was cool. See what I mean? When they miss it, it's so visual, you can just tell right away when a fish is underneath it. And you just work it so he finds it. Oh man, that guy had some sharp teeth. Awesome. So one tip I can give you guys when you're fishing pads like this is to keep your rod tip up high. Because if your rod tip's down low and you're working the frog, your line's going to get caught in the pads, and when it comes time to set the hook, it could cause some issues. You know, the frog could be over here and your line's wrapped around a pad this way, and you want to have a straight shot from your rod tip to the frog. So keeping the rod tip up will help you do that. Now, one thing to remember though is if you're going to have your rod tip up, when the bass eats, there's going to be a big bow in your line, so you have to reel down fast, then set the hook. Oh my gosh. Oh, that was awesome. Well, not losing the fish, but holy cow. Whew, that was a good one. That was a really good one. He just had me up in all the pads. 65-pound braid, heavy rod, 7.6. Wasn't enough. That was so cool. Whew. All right. We found him. We found him. After I picked through that cluster of bass, I started making my way back into a small cove because the wind had started to pick up, and unfortunately I could not buy a bite back there. So I made my way back out onto the main lake and just decided to drift it. It's about a mile long, and I was just gonna let the wind take me and just beat this shoreline to death with the frog and see if I can pick up another bite. But that wind was really starting to howl, and it had those bass reluctant to eat. I did manage to squeak out a small bite on the leeward side of the lake, all the way at the very end. Woo! Just a little guy. And by the time I released that fish and looked to the other shoreline to start working that one, the winds were back up 25, 30 miles an hour. The winds were actually so bad I had to put the rods down, keep my chin down, dig deep, and pedal into the wind. It was a grind. By the time I finally made it back to the launch, I was feeling gassed. And the forecast showed that the winds were not going to let off anytime soon. So I decided to pack it up and make my way back to the rivers. Even though it was one of the toughest days up north, I'm still thankful for it because it was one of the most rewarding. We dug down deep, figured out where the fish were, what they were eating, and managed to put a few in the boat before the weather decided to put an end to the day. And even with those 30-mile-an-hour winds, it was such a gorgeous day up north, and I am super thankful to have experienced it. I almost didn't include this video in my Up North series, but I felt it was important to share this with you all to show that not every day is going to go according to how you planned it. Sometimes you're going to get thrown a curveball and have to pivot. I just want to say thank you for joining me and sharing a little bit of my frustration in today, but we got it done. Hope to see you guys in the next Up North video. Till then, peace out.